Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero podcast, the show where I cover the Leafs in the best way possible. I'm your host, Jason Wells. Today is March 13th, and that means we have made it. It is the official start of the new NFL season. And a lot has happened over the last 36 hours or something like that. Because even though free agency doesn't start till technically today at 4, there's that tampering period where teams are allowed to talk, and those guys always get signed early. We know that there's tampering before the tampering period, but that's beside the point. New league year is here, new teams, throw 2023 out the window. 2024 is here, and it's time to start talking about outlooks and how teams could project going into next year. This episode, obviously, free agency is still active, ongoing, and I'm not going to cover every single signing that happened because that would be insane. That would be a 3 hour long podcast if I were to cover all of that. So I'm just going to hit my top 20. I'll give some honorable mentions, some dishonorable mentions too. So yeah, we'll talk about kind of the hits in free agency, and there's still a lot of good guys available, and I'll talk about that in a little bit here. I'm also going to start with my first power rankings of the year. Obviously, a lot can happen. There's still a ton of free agency. There's still a ton of good people available. The draft still has to happen, but I'm confident. It's a new league year, so let's put out the power rankings. And so I'll end it with that. I'll start off with the free agents. But yeah, no NFL weekly update this week because it would just be insane of me to do it, following the cuts, all the signings, whatever. So we'll just talk free agency signings. We'll talk about my power rankings. That'll be the episode. But yeah, let's start off with free agency. Lots of big hitters, lots of big names still available. Daniil Hunter, Justin Simmons, DJ Reader, Tyron Smith, Chase Young, Stephon Gilmore, Calvin Ridley, Jadeveon Clowney. Like, there's a lot of guys. There's more guys, but again, we're very early into it. Some of these guys might even get signed as I'm talking. But yeah, so we'll start off with my top 20 free agency moves so far in this tampering window. And I'll start off with kind of the honorable/dishonorable mentions, some moves that I like, some moves that I didn't. And we'll kind of narrow it down by position by position. We'll start off with two offensive linemen who got big deals. We got Jonah Jackson, formerly of the Lions, going to the Rams. And we have Damian Lewis going to the Panthers to shore up their interior offensive line. They got another move that we'll talk about later down on the list. But again, I think Jonah Jackson got 17 roughly AAV. Damian Lewis got like 13.25. And with the other deals that the Rams gave Kevin Dotson to keep him home, and I guess I'll just spoil it. The Panthers gave Robert Hunt $20 million a year. I think these teams are now spending almost $34 million combined on their guard positions. It's a fuck ton. It's a lot, but you have to have a good offensive line. The trenches need to be solid if you want to go far in this league, and the Panthers just need to keep Bryce upright first and foremost. Two moves that I just think it's a lot of money to be dishing out to the guard positions, and we'll talk more about that Robert Hunt deal when we do get to him, because obviously former Dolphins player, I'm going to have a lot to talk about him. Wide receivers, Darnell Mooney going from the Bears to the Falcons, Gabe Davis going from the Bills to the Jags. I think both guys got relatively the same deal. I think 3-year, $39 million for Mooney. I think Gabe Davis got 3-year, $37 million, something like that. Solid moves, not really changing the game, but those are the wide receivers of note that got signed anyways. We got some running backs here. Aaron Jones gets cut or gets replaced by this man, Josh Jacobs, who goes from the Raiders to the Packers. And then Aaron Jones signs a 1 year deal with the rival Minnesota Vikings, where it's going to be him and Ty Chandler. And obviously, Aaron Jones is the proven commodity out of the backfield there. And that's just kind of where I'll start with it, because it wasn't that Josh Jacobs got a big deal. I mean, he did get a big deal. He got a massive deal, and the Packers wanted Aaron Jones to take, I think, less money than what the Vikings are paying him right now. So the Vikings are giving him a 1 year, $7 million deal. Good, solid deal. I think that the Packers wanted him to take a pay cut to like 5 or 6 million or something like that, which is obviously just extreme. Obviously, like, if you want to stay there, you want to stay there. But let me find this Josh Jacobs contract. I should have wrote it down. I have the other ones written down. I'm more prepared than you think. Or am I not? Where is he? I guess I could just position running backs. Josh Jacobs. Yeah, 4 year, $48 million deal, 12 on average. And it's not a crazy thing. Like 2022, he did lead the league in rushing yards. I still think he's a good, productive back. I just think paying, like, you send Aaron Jones out the door since you don't want to pay him. And I know Aaron Jones has been hurt. He's had the injury bug, but when he's been healthy, he's been productive. But health for a running back is really the main thing. So Josh Jacobs, I don't think it's like a bad signing. I think that this helps the locker room. I think it does help out the Packers' run game. Someone who's healthy and on a productive offense, he should be a very valuable weapon. I just think you're getting rid of a running back who you don't want to pay, who is very good, and then paying a lot of paying a lot of money for a running back who is very good. And it's not a miss of a signing. It almost made my top 20 moves, but I have enough of a pause to be just a weird allocation of money. I do like Josh Jacobs, but I also really like Aaron Jones. So, is what it is with that move. And then we got some QB talk here. Drew Lock went to the Giants. I don't think that really matters. The Giants have their backup, I guess, because I don't think they'll be able to trade up in the draft. The Browns have their potential QB1 in Jameis Winston, because I do think that Watson's going to have every chance to start and do whatever he needs to do. But if he gets hurt again, Jameis might come in, steal the job. Brown's QB room goes from 27 allegations to now 29 allegations. Wild QB room there. And then Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew signs a 2 year, $25 million deal with the Raiders to be their starting QB. I think Minshew is an upgrade over Aiden O'Connell and is an upgrade over what they had in Jimmy G last year. But I guess we will see. It's just another chance to prove Minshew, good vibes guy. We'll see how he looks there. The Raiders, I think they've made some moves where they're a better team than what they were last year, but obviously they're not competing in the AFC because, again, the AFC is going to be a dogfight like it was last year, and probably to an even further extent than it was last year. And we'll talk about more about that in the power rankings. But yeah, Minshew to the Raiders. I think those are all the QB moves. Obviously, I got a big QB move to talk about when we get to it, but let's start off with my top free agency moves. And of course, I have to start it with the Miami Dolphins. Shaq Barrett, former Buccaneer, 2020 Super Bowl champion, signed a 1 year, $9 million deal with the Dolphins. Obviously, doesn't have to move very far going from Tampa to Miami. I mean, it's decently far, but same state, no taxes. That's nice. And it's a nice deal. Shaq Barrett, I mean, Chew asked in the group chat, is he still, good? And he's still good, but he's not Shaq Barrett for what he was on those, really good Bucs teams. Still a solid, productive player, and that's just kind of what we need to get us through the start of the season. Obviously, Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb both will miss the start of the year. Don't know how long, hopefully not an insane amount of time, but Shaq Barrett is good enough to hold down the fort on edge through the first month or two through the season. Hopefully, it's not that long, but we will see. And then after those guys come back, he will be a fantastic rotational pass rush guy for us. A couple people on Dolphins Twitter have compared the signing to getting like a Melvin Ingram in 2022. It's comparable in terms of like the age and what they're going to be asked to do for us, but Shaq Barrett is a much better player than Melvin Ingram was in 2022. And I just think that this is a very good signing. I think it's for all the people complaining on Dolphins Twitter, and we'll get to some of the guys that we lost because I'm going to talk about them here very quickly. But a lot has happened where we have lost players, and we have filled. We've upgraded at 4 positions. I guess that you can say that. We've upgraded at 3 positions, and we got another starter. So like, we're doing good. We signed for whatever. I'm not going to get into it because that's not what this episode is about. So yeah, so we'll just keep moving on. So 20, Shaq Barrett. Number 19, we have safety Geno Stone moving on from the Ravens, going to the Bengals. Yeah, Stone came in as a replacement for Marcus Williams. I think in the 2022 season he started playing. It's like, okay, this guy's pretty good. And then this year he came in and he was like, boom, I'm the starter. 7 interceptions for the Ravens last season, and now he goes to Cincinnati to try to give them some stability, some ball hawking back in their secondary. A very young secondary for the Bengals, which obviously they're hoping for it to improve. And I think Geno Stone's a good player. I think I said 2-year, $14 million contract. Obviously, $7 million average annual value. That's what AAV means for the people who don't follow football as closely. But very good deal for the Bengals. I think it's a good move for Geno Stone. Stay in the division. There's been a lot of that. There's been a lot of just moving over. I'm going to play for your rival. Another Dolphins. This time it was a Dolphins loss. Andrew Van Ginkel has gone to the Vikings, a 2-year, $20 million deal, $10 million AAV. I'm happy for Gink. He gets to go back home. He's from the Midwest. I know he went to school in Wisconsin, so he's from that area. And he's back with Flores. Flores is someone who utilized his talent once he got there, and Van Ginkel truly took off as kind of like a hybrid pass rusher linebacker for us. And Flores kind of gets one of his guys back, and I think that he'll be a very good player. Flores knows exactly what he's getting, and yeah, I think it's an underrated signing for the Vikings. I don't think he's not going to be like a 3-down starter for them, but solid, good contributor, very good pass rusher. Flores will use him well opposite Jonathan Grenard, who we'll talk about that signing in a bit, but very good signing for the Vikings. At 17, I went very Dolphins heavy at the top about this apparently, but after this one, no more Dolphins players to really talk about until we get to the guys that we lost again. But the Dolphins brought in linebacker Jordan Brooks from the Seahawks, 3-year, $26.25 million deal, $8.75 million AAV. We upgraded and got a pay cut for someone who's much better than Jerome Baker. And I absolutely love our linebacking tandem now. David Long, Jordan Brooks, very solid linebacking tandem. I'm excited to see what Anthony Weaver can do with these guys. I think Jordan Brooks is very talented, and he proved that he was very talented in Seattle. Was a first-round pick, and those were at the times where I think they went from Rashad Penny one year, and then it was Jordan Brooks, and Jordan Brooks was a reach at that time. And people are like, what the fuck are the Seahawks doing? Me, one of those people. It was very fair, but Jordan Brooks turned out to be a very productive linebacker, and that's hopefully what he will be for Miami. So there we go, Miami. We brought in an edge starter guy who's going to eventually be a rotational guy for us once we get healthy, and a starting linebacker. Two wins in my book. Let's keep going, though. The Niners have brought in Leonard Floyd, pass rusher Leonard Floyd, on a 2-year, $20 million deal, $10 million AAV. This is kind of what the Niners do. The Niners go pass rush by committee. And Leonard Floyd, I mean, he signed with the Bills after being a longtime player on the Rams, Super Bowl champion with the Rams, I believe. But yeah, no, and he went back to being, he's a very productive pass rusher, and that's exactly what they will ask him to do for the Niners. I think the Niners also got Yetur Gross-Matos out of Carolina. So, like, this is what they're going to do. They're going to bring guys in, and they're just going to have those guys rotate through. Hargrave's going to be in there for most of the snaps. Nick Bosa's going to be in there for most of the snaps. And I think those other two positions, Drake Jackson is still there, young player, got a good rookie season, didn't really do much last year. Now Leonard Floyd, they still might make a splash and maybe get a Jadeveon Clowney. That would be excellent for them, but very solid move for the Niners nonetheless. We'll keep going here. Frankie Louvu, linebacker for the Panthers, now Commanders. 3-year, $31 million deal, 10.333 AAV. The Dan Quinn is putting his stamp kind of on this defense, starting with Frankie Louvu. I think Frankie Louvu has been one of the underrated players for this Panthers defense for quite a while. And I mean, not a lot of people have watched Panthers football, because why the fuck would you? But yeah, Frankie Louvu has been solid, dependable, very good player. And we'll see if he gets a chance to kind of blossom a little bit more than he did in Carolina. Carolina's going to miss him. I'm shocked that Carolina didn't try to keep him, but obviously when you're paying two guards, or when you're throwing out $150 million in money to two guards in free agency, keeping guys like Frankie Louvu is a little tougher. But Panthers are going through a complete rehaul of their team. We'll talk about one more player that they lost coming up here too. But yeah, Frankie Louvu to the Commanders, good deal. We got a guy kind of staying in-house, was a trade piece last year, but Leonard Williams traded to the Seahawks midpoint last season to try to go on a run. They did not, but they keep him on a pretty good deal. 3-year, $64 million, $64.5 million deal, 21.5 AAV. Leonard Williams is very solid, very good player. I wouldn't put him in that top echelon of interior defensive line guys. Because yeah, he is he's not an edge. He can play on the edge, but he's not an edge. But no, he's a very good, productive player. I think that with Mike McDonald now being their new head coach, he sees the value of someone like a Leonard Williams. I mean, we just saw how well Justin Madubuike did with the Ravens and how much he got paid. Leonard Williams hopes to be that player for Will McDonald and just kind of have him be a chess piece, move him all over the defensive line. I'm sure that Leonard Williams will love that, but the Seahawks are happy that trading for him, and now they keep him. Very good move. And number 13 here, we got Jonathan Grenard to the Vikings, former Texan last year, and he absolutely exploded in the DeMeco Ryans offense. Sorry, I'm looking up stats here because I'm trying to remember, because he was kind of like wasn't doing much, and then all of a sudden he exploded for 12.5 sacks last year. Obviously, that playing opposite Will Anderson, who does garner a fair bit of attention, but Grenard, one of the better pass rushers on the market, still only, he's young. He is young. Turning 27 in about 2 months. So still a young edge player. And yeah, he goes to Minnesota, 4 year, $76 million deal, 19 million AAV. And obviously, they're not bringing back Daniil Hunter. Daniil Hunter is still out on the open market. Rumors for him to be a Falcon, but they're hoping that Grenard can come in and match at least some of what Hunter was giving them at the pass rush. And yeah, I think the Vikings, again, I like Brian Flores. I think he's a very good defensive coach, and Grenard should have a good year getting coached by him. We'll see if they add another pass rusher next to him other than Andrew Van Ginkel, because Andrew Van Ginkel is not a starter in my opinion, but we will see what the Vikings do. At number 12 here, we have Azeez Al-Shire going from the Titans to the Texans on a 3 year, $34 million deal, 11.333 AAV. Al-Shire drafted by the Niners, where DeMeco Ryans coached, and now is back with DeMeco. I think this is a great signing. This is someone that I wanted the Dolphins to bring in potentially. And yeah, I think Al-Shire is an upgrade over Blake Cashman, who he got a deal to also go to the Vikings. But Al-Shire knows the system. He did it very, very well in San Francisco. So I think this is it's a bit of an underrated move. Lots of linebackers going off the board early in free agency, but I like the Al-Shire move. One of the best, if we're being honest. And yeah, gets him back with his former coach, who he did great under. Watch out for this Texans defense. I mean, just watch out for this Texans team in general, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in my power rankings once we get to these teams. At 11, we have Saquon Barkley going from the Giants to the Eagles. Again, one of these rivalry signings that we seem to be seeing, but a 3 year, $37 million deal, 13.5 AAV. And if you're keeping track at home, that means that Darnell Mooney and Gabe Davis are each getting more money than Saquon Barkley. That's just kind of how fucked the running back market is, and that's great for Saquon to get a deal like that, great for Josh Jacobs to get a deal like that with how bad the running back market has looked. But Darnell Mooney and Gabe Davis getting more money than Saquon is just a little nuts. I really like this move for the Eagles. I think that this is the Eagles get their best running back since they shipped Shady off to Buffalo. And I think that this has a chance to really... Because as good as Swift was last year, and Swift was... That's a signing I didn't talk about, but I'll talk about. But for as good as Swift was last year, he still... His yards after contact were almost zero. If he didn't get touched, he was gone, but... Saquon is a much, much better running back. I still believe that Saquon has the ability to be a top 5 running back in this league. He is going to be playing behind a very good Eagles offensive line, even though Jason Kelce is retired now. This is a boomer bust play for the Eagles. I think that they're hoping that this really gets their run game going and solidified. Maybe add another back in there just to be a little cautious. But Saquon is a weapon, running the ball, catching the ball. I think this is a very good move for the Eagles to keep that offense, get some new juice in there a little bit, because the Eagles have the pieces. The Eagles have the pieces kind of all over, and we'll talk about their defensive side of the ball in just a little bit here. And at number 10, I got another running back move that I just like slightly more. It is Derrick Henry to the Ravens on a 2 year, $16 million deal, $8 million AAV. Derrick Henry is still a very, very good football player. I don't care if he looked kind of a little worn down, a little slow, not as much burst last year in Tennessee. He was the only good offensive player the Titans had. Of course, they're going to stack the box, only keying on Henry. Of course he didn't look good when Ryan Tannehill's his QB and Ryan Tannehill's not good anymore. Or Will Levis, he's going to be their starter this year, but it's still, we don't know if Will Levis is really good. I think Derrick Henry is going to be incredible in Baltimore. Him and Keaton Mitchell are really a thunder and lightning duo. If like the most thunder and lightning is a duo ever potentially. The running, like, they can just kill you in the run game. And this offensive line is physical and imposing, and the Ravens are going to try to dominate and force their will upon teams in the run game, and I'm very excited to see it. However, Derrick Henry has obviously had 10,000 plus carries probably now over the course of his entire career. I mean, it's probably way more than that now that I'm. It's definitely way more than that. Maybe not. Either way, that's something to check later. He's older, and the Ravens are seemingly a team where if you are their running back, you go there to die. They have not had healthy running backs, I don't know, ever, essentially. I mean, it's been a long, long time till, like, I can't even think of who. Justin Forsett. Is that really what I'm going to, like, Justin Forsett was their last healthy starting running back? Maybe. That's insane to say. Also, shout out to Justin Forsett. Crazy 1 year wonder there. Yeah, I do really like this move for the Ravens and their offense as a whole. But yeah, let's keep going. Oh, I just got a text. Something else might have happened, but I'll save that for the end of the show. Actually, I'll save it till after I'm done the list. Number 9, we got Patrick Queen to the Steelers on a 3-year, $41 million deal, 13.666 AAV. People thought Patrick Queen was going to go for a lot more money than this, me included. I thought he would break that $15 million mark. But I think this is kind of where his value is and what it should be. Patrick Queen, before Roquan Smith got there, was not a good player. And we'll see what he can be being the number one guy there in Pittsburgh. Obviously, Pittsburgh still has a lot of good defensive players, but Patrick Queen will be asked to be the number one linebacker there. And I don't think this is an overpayment. He was going to be the highest paid linebacker in this free agency period, but I don't think it's an overpay. I think if they would have hit that 15 million mark, AAV, I think that would have been an overpay, but this is a nice number. 3-year deal, adding to a very talented Steelers defense with obviously Watt and Hayward and Highsmith, and Minka and Joey Porter Jr. Now they get a linebacker there. Also, I guess I should have mentioned Russ. Russ is obviously a Steeler, $1.2 million deal. Good for Russ. I mean, $1.2 million deal because he's getting fucking 37 from the Broncos this year. Number 8, we have Darius Williams going back to the Rams on a 3-year, $22.5 million deal, 7.5 AAV. I have this one higher up here because I think this is a very strong signing, especially with a guy who used to play for the Rams, now coming back, and still a very, very good zone corner. Now that Raheem Morris is gone, I'm not sure if they're going to kind of stick to like a similar scheme or whatever, but I'm like, they wouldn't bring Darius Williams back if he didn't fit kind of what they did, and someone who probably knows what they're already running since he did play there before. And I like the AAV a lot. $7.5 million for a guy who could be your number one corner going into the year. And for the Rams just needed kind of like not number one players, but solidified strong players on the defense, where last year they just kind of went in with a bunch of unproven guys, a bunch of young talent, and basically went hands up. Okay, let's just see what happens. And defense didn't look terrible. Didn't look good, but it looked kind of league average. And now they're like, okay, we can build something off this. I think this is a great signing by the Rams, and that's why I have it so high up here, even though it was definitely underrated. Number 7 here, we have a sign and trade. Brian Burns heads to the Giants for a 2nd and a 5th round pick. and then promptly signs a 5-year, $141 million deal. Could be up to 150 with bonuses, 28.2 AAV. A little bit of a weird move by the Giants to trade and pay for a player when they're nowhere like near contending. Obviously, Brian Burns is still very young, still has a lot of potential, and now he will be playing in a Giants defense that I do like a lot. I mean, just on the defensive line, it's going to be Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, and then Kayvon Thibodeau. That sounds pretty scary if you ask me. But obviously, the big losers in this are the Panthers, who could have been, I think, yeah, the Rams offered 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns. They said, no, we're going to hold on for him for 1 more year for whatever reason that was. And now they get a second and a fifth. Again, it's an early second. They now have 2 early seconds. And it's a good draft class, so hopefully they land 2 impact players that can help them. But I don't know. Like, the Panthers are just, they're at rock bottom. Their roster has gotten worse. Nowhere to go but up, really. Their defense is going to be atrocious this year, but it's all about making sure that Bryce Young can play in this league and can be comfortable, and that's why they're adding so much insurance onto the offensive line, and I'm sure that they will be investing heavily in wide receivers in the draft. But yeah, Brian Burns to the Giants. Again, it's a weird move for the Giants just because why are you trading away assets and paying like top market value for guys when you're not really contending? I think it could be a play where, just hear me out. Let's say the Patriots don't want to draft Jaden Daniels or draft Drake May, and they're like, we're comfortable trading back. We're comfortable with Jacoby Brissett with Nathan Rourke as the backup, because that's goddamn right. Nathan Rourke is the backup QB there. But yeah, Pats are comfortable with doing that. We'll trade back with the Giants, and then the Giants offer 6 and Kayvon Thibodeau and like a future 1 or something like that to land Drake May or Jaden Daniels. I think that's a move that the Patriots would have to consider. Especially, yeah, like, I'm just throwing it out there. That this could be a move to make a possible other move to get one of the quarterbacks in this draft, not J.J. McCarthy. But I'm just saying, Giants could be players for a QB in the draft. Next move up here, talking about the Carolina Panthers here, Robert Hunt, former Dolphin, now a Panther, 5-year, $100 million deal, $20 million AAV. That puts him top 3 in the guard market in the NFL. First off, I'm extremely happy for Robert to get that type of life-changing money. If you don't know his story, he grew up in poverty, didn't know where food was coming one day or the next. So to see him grind, get to this level, hit the highest level that he possibly could in free agency, getting that life-changing money, it's a great story, and I'm happy for him. From a Dolphins perspective, I'll just start with this. There was no chance that we were paying him this amount of money. And I'm going to say the same thing for Christian Wilkins here in a couple minutes, but we could not pay Robert Hunt $20 million a year, because that means losing guys like Holland, Waddle, Phillips all in the next couple years. Those guys are more valuable than a guard. I love Robert Hunt. He's a mauler. I don't think he's a top 3 guard in the league. And obviously, when other guys get their money, it'll push him down and whatever. But paying Robert Hunt and expecting him to be like an all-pro level guard, because that's what it is if you're getting like the highest paid money, it's tough. That's what you have to do when you're a team like the Panthers, who have a ton of money. Actually, they don't have a ton of money. They have a decent amount of money, and your offensive line just stinks. You have to overpay for guards. And Robert Hunt is a very good guard. Top 5 guard? I don't know about that. And yeah, from the Panthers side, I get it. You need to put Bryce Young in a spot where he can succeed last year, because last year was horrendous. people like it's like, oh, it's they put their QB in the worst spot ever. I think it's comparable to what the Dolphins did with Tua, and Tua was coming off like crazy ass hip surgery. Bryce Young just kind of stunk last year, but for good reason. He had Adam Thielen, and that's literally it. And Adam Thielen is very, very old. So yeah, this puts Bryce Young in the best chance to win. It protects him. Obviously, they got to get weapons and hopefully a better run game, but this gives hopefully Bryce Young a chance to show who he really is for the Panthers, and that's just kind of all they need right now. Is they need Bryce Young to hopefully be the dude, because if he is not the dude, my God, have the Panthers been royally fucked over the last two off seasons essentially. Yeah, coming in at number 5 now, another Dolphin, Christian Wilkins to the Raiders, 4-year, $110 million deal, 27.5 AAV. So again, like what I just said with the Panthers and Robert Hunt, Christian Wilkins kind of does the exact same thing here, where he gets life-altering money, highest at the position money, and not highest paid at the position, because obviously Aaron Donald and Chris Jones' contracts are insane, but those guys are like some of the best interior defensive lineman players ever, where Christian Wilkins, I think, is a top 10 defensive tackle. I think he's a fringe top 5 interior defensive lineman. But again, the Dolphins, we can't afford to pay him $27.5 million. Like, that's wide receiver one money. That's edge one money. I love Christian Wilkins. He has been one of my favorite players since we have drafted him. And it sucks that he's gone. Again, he was such a pest. I mean, just grabbing players' towels and just fucking around. The Raiders are going to love him. Like, I love Christian Wilkins. But again, $27.5 million, not a lot of money. Is an insane amount of money. It's $3 million more than people like Quinnen Williams, and I'm trying to remember who else. Like, I think guys like Dexter Lawrence and Javon Hargrave and DeForest Buckner are all in like that $21 million mark. And then guys like Jeffrey Simmons and Deron Payne are in like the 23, 24. I thought Christian Wilkins was going to be in like that range of defensive tackle. Him getting like top end money, obviously below Aaron Donald and Chris Jones. Wild to me, but congrats to the Raiders. You got one of my favorite players that the Dolphins have had probably since Cameron Wake. Like, he's been my favorite defensive player since Cameron Wake. And what this means for the Raiders, because we will talk about it. I do think it is a bit of an overpay, but it is what it is. Christian Wilkins is a dog, and he will now be playing next to Max Crosby and Tyree Wilson, not Tyree Jackson. Tyree Jackson is the old Buffalo QB in college who went on the tight end. I think he's a tight end for the Eagles now. Either way, I'm rambling. Tyree Wilson and Max Crosby, and now Christian Wilkins on the defensive line. If Tyree Wilson can hit kind of that ceiling that they hope that he could, again, the Raiders could have a very scary defensive line, and this defense was absolutely terrible last year. So the Raiders have made improvements. We'll talk about the power rankings in a bit. Do I think that the Raiders they're coming? No, not at all, but steps in the right direction, but also just like a weird move. Why are you paying Christian Wilkins that much money when you won't even be close to contending, or at least close? I'll say it won't even be close to a playoff spot next year. Let's keep going. Number 4 now, Xavier McKinney, former safety for the Giants, signs a 4-year, $68 million deal with the Packers, 17 AAV. Since McKinney has been in the league, he has been one of the best safeties in the league, one of the best coverage safeties, and the Packers got an elite safety. They had Darnell Savage hit the market, and now they add Xavier McKinney in here to shore up the secondary. The Packers are making moves. And they should be, because they have Jordan Love on a relatively cheap 1 year left on his. I think he has got like $22.5 million, something like that deal. So they're loading up to try to potentially gear up for a Super Bowl run. I guess we will see. But yeah, I think this was a home run move. 17 AAV. I think it puts him in like the top five for safeties. Obviously, no one's topping that Derwin at 20 deal, but I think this is a very strong, very solid deal. And relatively team friendly for the Packers. So I'm kind of shocked why the Giants didn't. But I guess if you're paying Brian Burns almost $30 million a year, you can't really pay Xavier McKinney, which is unfortunate, but is what it is. At number 3, I have the Eagles signing Bryce Huff off the Jets. 3-year, $51 million deal, 17 AAV. This is kind of an underrated signing. Obviously, he wasn't a premier or a starting player to start last season for the Jets, but that's just kind of with injuries and how the stuff shaked out. That's how it ended up being. But Huff finished the year with 10 sacks, 67 pressures, and 21 QB hits. Only 25 years old. The Eagles are trying to get younger. They are trying to actively trade Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat at the moment. We'll see what happens there, but they bring in Bryce Huff. They have Nolan Smith, who they drafted last year, who did play well in that playoff game. So I think that they're hoping on getting younger. I think they'll keep one of Reddick or Sweat. I would trade Josh Sweat and keep Hassan Reddick, but that's just me. But yeah, I think that the Eagles have made 2 very good moves to start free agency so far. I think that their offense, obviously, like the offense just like in general needed a complete they're not retool, I guess, because it is relatively the same players other than Saquon, but they needed an offensive voice in there that wasn't an idiot and is going to be good for them. I forgot who they brought in as offensive coordinator, but whatever. I won't talk about that. And then on defense now, again, trying to get younger. Obviously, lots of holes in the secondary that they need to patch up still. But I think Bryce Huff is a very good signing, and I think that he could be a very good player for the Eagles. Also, I should say Fletcher Cox has also retired from the Eagles. Probably a very good candidate. I don't think he's a Hall of Fame guy. I need to go and look at some numbers and some accolades and stuff like that. But Fletcher Cox, very, very good player for the Eagles for a very long time, and he will be missed from this team. Now it is up to Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis to take over the DT starting roles, and I'm excited to see what that Georgia duo looks like. And fucking if they start Nolan Smith, they got 3 Georgia guys on that defensive line, which is kind of crazy. At number 2, I have Michael Owenu going back to the Pats. 3-year, $57 million deal, 19 AAV. And the reason that I like this deal is because Owenu should have got more money than Robert Hunt. So I think it's a very good deal for the Patriots to retain, obviously, one of their guys. That now makes their interior offensive line Cole Strange, David Andrews, and Michael Owenu. Because I don't think they should kick him back out to tackle. Patriots are still missing 2 tackles, but I think it's a great move. I thought that they got him back at a cheaper number than Hunt could have, or than Robert Hunt went for, and I think Owenu is the better guard of the 2 players. With all that being said, there's not much more to say, but I just thought it was a very good deal. Patriots get one of their guys back. And that's just kind of all the Patriots. That's what their free agent cycle. They haven't overbid on anyone yet. They've been staying firm. They've re-signed their guys basically. Haven't made a ton of other moves other than Jacoby Brissett. And has there been another? Oh, Antonio Gibson. That's, fucking talk up Antonio Gibson. Nope. And number 1 here, we have Kirk Cousins leaving Minnesota, going to the Falcons. 4-year, $180 million deal, $45 million AAV. And this is essentially a Daniel Jones type deal with just like a little bit more money. Like I think $5 million more on average than Daniel Jones. Which just makes that Daniel Jones deal look so bad. This is a good deal, and this is a move that puts the Falcons near contention anyways. There's a car alarm going off right now that I can hear under my headphones, but beside the point. I think that this firmly puts the Falcons as the best team in the NFC South. Again, not a really hard feat, But yeah, Cousins going there. His wife is from the area. I think that's kind of why they chose there. He's getting to now go with a solid offensive line. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. They gave Darnell Mooney some money, so I guess he's wide receiver 2 at the moment. And a solid defense. I don't see how the Falcons lose the NFC South. I think it is definitely their division to win. Yeah, and I'm I'm not calling the Falcons Super Bowl contenders, but I'm calling them playoff threats, teams to look out for. I guess I can explain it in the power rankings now that we get up to it. I got 50 text messages. Let's see. Colts re-signing Kenny Moore. That's a very good deal. Raiders expected to cut Jimmy G. I'm shocked that they haven't already. Commander signed Dante Fowler and Clelin Ferrell. Sure. People shit talking the Dolphins. That's fine. Pats have had trade talk with all the Dolphins or all the Chargers retreads. Let me see. And then just Tony and Chu talking nonsense for far too long. Okay, yeah. I guess we can get into, so nothing's really happened since I've started talking. So let's get into my power rankings here. I'll start from the bottom, and I have these tiered, so I'll just kind of list off, and then I'll say kind of what the tier is. So this is the bottom of the barrel teams. So we got the Panthers at 32, Titans at 31, Broncos at 30, Commanders 29, Patriots 28, Giants 27. Yeah, the Panthers stink. I don't care what they do. I don't care who they add on offense. This is going to be a very bad team. Same goes for the Titans. I mean, same goes for all of these teams here. I think the teams that have a chance to kind of escape out of it a little bit, the Giants a little bit, because I do expect them to add one of these top receivers, whether it be Neighbors or Odunze. The Patriots need to add any type of receiver right now, because I like the defense. I like their defense. Commanders, they're just okay. The Broncos are also just, yeah. So these are the teams that I just, at this moment, at the very start of the league year, these teams are objectively bad, worse in the NFL. That's that tier. My next tier up, only two teams here, and these are high floors, low ceiling. I guess I'll say that. And at 26, I have the Raiders, and at 25, I have the Saints. Yeah, like the Raiders, Gardner Minshew is, I guess, a QB upgrade. They still have good players on offense. The defense got a little bit better. So I guess we'll see. Like, again, not a good team. Probably picking in the top 10 again. And the Saints are the Saints. Like, they're the same team from 2022. I don't need to keep talking about the Saints because we all know what the Saints are at this point. This next tier is, these are teams that won't make the playoffs in my opinion, but I could definitely see them, if the moves go right for the rest of the offseason, I could see a way for them to make the playoffs. At 24, we have the Chargers. 23, we have the Cardinals. 22, the Seahawks. 21, the Browns. 20, the Steelers. And 19, the Buccaneers. So this tier is kind of guys who I know what their ceiling is as starting QBs, talking about Baker, talking about Russ, talking about the Nasty Man, talking about Geno, where like those four teams, they have solid rosters in place. Where the Cardinals are still, they're getting better. They were at like year one reset last year, and they're getting better. Kyler is now healthy. I'm expecting them to draft Marvin Harrison Jr., which would give them a top tier weapon. And then that offense now looks like Kyler Murray, solid offensive line, James Conner running the ball, Trey McBride at tight end, and Marvin Harrison Jr. as wide receiver 1. Looks pretty good. I trust Jonathan Gannon another year. of him controlling the defense, molding it in his image to get better. And then the Chargers at 24, they have Justin Herbert, who is a top 10 quarterback in this league. Definitively top 10, not definitively top 5. Don't let people tell you that. Where, yeah, they're in a complete retool right now. They're getting rid of a lot of their older players on contract, on bad contracts. And they need a complete retool on offense and defense, essentially, where I've been saying it. The only people who are safe on the Chargers are Justin Herbert, Rashawn Slater, and I guess Derwin James. Everyone else can be replaced, essentially, which is a lot. You need a lot of people to fill out a football team, and the fact that there's only 3 people I'm confident in will be starters on this team, not great. So that's why the Chargers are so low. But again, could they make the playoffs? A lot needs to happen in the offseason, but I think they got the right people in charge now to take them there. Not in 2024, but eventually. The next tier up here, these are the teams that I feel good about the roster. I feel good about their starting quarterbacks. It's just kind of whether or not the pieces do end up fitting. At 18, I have the Bears, 17, the Jaguars, 16, the Jets, 15, the Colts. I have the Jets twice here. That means that I'm missing a team. Oh, that's really going to bug me. Who am I missing? Who am I? Okay, now I have to go look at NFL standings. I should probably pause it, but I think I can figure out what team I'm missing here, though. So the later. Meh. Okay, I'll figure it out. I'll just keep going. I might have had the same number in there twice potentially, but yeah. So Bears 18, Jags 17. I'll say Jets 16. I'll say Colts 16, Jets 15, Falcons 14. But yeah, these are the teams. I think they have good rosters. I think there's questions at quarterbacks, but if those quarterbacks do take off, I think that they are, again, they're very good quarterbacks. I think Kirk is a good quarterback. I think Aaron Rodgers, we don't know at this point, but we've seen him. I mean, he was winning MVPs in 2021. The Colts with Anthony Richardson, who talent is up the wazoo for him, but the Jags, Trevor Lawrence, then the Bears, Caleb Williams, draft a good team around him. Like, these are all teams that I can see making the playoffs and have a strong case to make the playoffs, where that gap before is very high floor teams, but would need a lot to make the playoffs, in my opinion. Is there a team I really want to dissect there? No, not really. So the next tier up is, I think, playoff teams with Super Bowl aspirations if things go the right way. So in this tier, I have the Rams at 12, Cowboys at 11, Bengals at 10, Dolphins at 9, and the Eagles at 8. This is also kind of the tier of teams where they're all retooling, where they all have good rosters in place, but just little things need to change, losing a few big free agents here and there for all of these teams, essentially, but can bring in guys under cheaper deals that hopefully it works out. And I think that all of these teams are kind of in that same range. I think I could have put the Rams up with the next tier guys because everything is basically in place for them. They just need to... But I didn't think that the Rams were as close as these other teams that I'm going to list in. But yeah, Eagles, Dolphins, Bengals, Cowboys, Rams are tiers of teams that playoff teams, Super Bowl caliber teams, but we need to see some retooling. The next tier up, Texans at 7, Packers at 6, and the Lions at 5. These were kind of the surprise teams from last year. I think we all expected the Lions to be good, but not very close to the Super Bowl type good, where Lions, Packers, Texans all have cap space and are all adding to those Super Bowl rosters, those playoff rosters that they had last season. I mean, I didn't talk about it, but the Texans brought in Joe Mixon, and I mean, I did say Aziz Al-Shire. The Packers, Xavier McKinney and Josh Jacobs. The Lions, they made a couple Couple moves. They brought in Marcus Davenport, opposite edge for Aiden Hutchinson. They traded for Carlton Davis, who will be a starting corner for them. So they're making moves, and the Lions still have a lot of space left to continue to make another splash free agent. Again, lots of free agents still available. But yeah, these are the teams where I think they're mixed in with that last group, but they have more financial flexibility to in order to make like splash moves where all these other teams have kind of made their splash moves already and just kind of need to this is the roster, let's hope that people stay healthy and it works. Where Lions, Packers, and Texans are all improving their rosters this season. And now we are into the top four, the elite teams, in my opinion. The Bills at 4, the Ravens at 3, the 49ers at 2, and of course the Chiefs at 1. These are the teams where, yeah, a team like the Bills, who basically cut their entire secondary, have some work to do, but as long as Josh Allen is there, I'm all good. The Ravens, I mean, they just brought in Derrick Henry. Their defense is still intact. Losing some key people, but Ravens, very, very good football team regardless. The 49ers, they're not losing anyone that's really of importance. There's some rumblings of Ayuk. I doubt that they let him leave, but yeah, 49ers at 2. And then, of course, the Chiefs at 1 because they might lose L'Jarius Sneed. I guess we will see. But there is no reason why the Chiefs should not be 1. They brought back Chris Jones. If they can somehow get back Sneed, that would be crazy. And then if they add a wide receiver in the draft, that would be even crazier. But yeah, those are my initial power rankings. I'll make sure to post those on Instagram and I'll post it on Twitter, but I'll make it look a little prettier here. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it for this episode. Last check, anything has anything happened? Nope, nothing has happened. Yeah, new league year is here. Oh yeah, I was gonna try to figure out who I was missing because I don't think that I doubled up numbers anywhere. I think I was good with that. But now it bugs me that I'm fully missing a team. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, okay. Let's go find this mystery team that I didn't mention. But my issue is I think I mentioned all of them. So obviously there's a counting error somewhere, which I don't know, but yeah, I guess we'll just leave it at that because I guess it's not that important. Yeah, next episode. What can I tease for next episode? I think I'm going to start dropping some of my rankings. I think we'll go over kind of the NFL weekly update but I think I'm going to start dropping player rankings. So I think I might do what do I start with here? Because I think I'm going to give my top 20 at the position. So maybe I do like offensive line. I do like offensive linemen and tight ends, maybe something like that. Maybe I just do an offensive defensive group. We will see. We will see. Maybe we get a mock draft going. I don't know. Now that we're in the off season and now we are officially into the new league year, lots of things to talk about, and I'm sure that I will have a lot to catch up on next week as well. But if you have liked this, please like, share, retweet, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And until next time, peace.